Hello everyone, this is Prakash here. In this particular video, we're going to understand one of the machine learning algorithms called as decision tree algorithms. And we will also follow it up by a practical implementation by considering one or two examples. To begin with, let's understand what decision trees are and the concepts behind them, how the algorithm works, and also what is the math intuition behind that. So we'll focus on these aspects in this video, followed by an implementation. So let's get going. So basically, decision tree is a supervised machine learning algorithm. So when we say supervised, what it really means is, the algorithm is fed with the data, and the data is clearly labeled, whether it is input or output. All the fields are clearly labeled so that the algorithm identifies the patterns between the input and output, and it learns from it, right? So once it learns from it, it will be predicting it in the future when we feed the actual data, right? So there will be training data and testing data and also real-time data, right? So training data is what we use to train algorithms, and testing data is what we use to test and validate the model that we build. And real-time data is what we finally use it to use the algorithm or use the model. So considering that this is a supervised machine learning model algorithm, and this solves two types of problems, both classification and regression. So classification primarily means it is about categorizing the output. If the output is more of it belongs to one or two categories, something like whether a customer will stay with the company or customer will leave the company. That's one or two of the categories. And apart from that, there can be other examples like whether a transaction is fraud or genuine. When there is an online transaction that is happening with banking and financial institutions. So that's one example where classifications are useful, and so on. So there are a lot of useful use cases where classifications are used. And with regression, so the regression is really about predicting continuously changing variables. So what we mean by that is, if an input is actually driving a change in the output in a numerically incremental fashion or numerically related fashion, so we call it regression. So take an example of stock price moving based on some parameters, or revenues being predicted based on the R&D spend or based on the previous results and things like that. So all these things have continuously changing variables, right? So that is when we call it a regression problem. So basically, decision tree can be used to solve both these problems. So that's why this is a very useful algorithm that can be applied in a broader sense, right? So the way this works is this actually considers all the samples, all the input and output samples, which we normally call it the training data. It actually learns by dividing the data into subdivisions, right? So that the subdivisions can be classified into one particular category, right? So when you give the input at the beginning, so the inputs are already they are comprised of multiple categories, right? Let's say take an example of customer, whether the customer will stay or not. So you have both categories, customers staying and customers leaving. Both categories would be there in your initial data. But the way this works is this tries to subdivide the data based on some criterion. So what could be the criteria there? The criteria could be based on the input features. So we will see how the criteria is used, but the way this works is to actually break down your input samples into multiple subdivisions until it gets to a level of clearly identifying one particular output through a path. So we'll see more detail in the upcoming slides. And this is statistically driven, so it follows some mathematical techniques to identify how to split, on what basis to split. So some examples are Gini and MSE that I have given there. So those things we'll discuss again. But this really follows that, so that it is actually a reliable model. So it's not something that we can clearly explain it on what basis we have split and things like that. And it's easy to visualize. Because since it really works on the basis of conditions and decisions on some data conditions, right, on feature conditions. So this is easy to explain to stakeholders to clearly say on what basis we are predicting an outcome, right? So compared to other models like linear regression or logistic regression, those are not so easy to explain the rationale. But whereas with the decision trees, we can clearly explain on what basis we are coming up with some predictions. Decision trees support multiple output problems. So what that means is if the output is not just one particular category, one particular feature, the outputs itself are multiple outputs, then also this can be applied. We will see some examples. This is non-parametric. So what it really means is, it doesn't expect the data to be in a particular distribution, like the input should be normally distributed, or we don't have to scale the data like like we do in linear regression. So that sort of pre-processing and data distribution assumptions are not quite there. So in such sense, it's actually a simpler algorithm to get started and to also quickly build models, right? So that's about being non-parametric. So some of the drawbacks with decision trees is mainly overfitting. So usually decision trees, since it works on data conditions, right? So it goes very depending upon the number of conditions that it chooses, it can really be overfitting, meaning it's very customized or close to the training data itself, and it may not very well perform in the real-time data. This scenario can happen if we really grow the tree to be so tuned towards training data. So we have some techniques to control this. We can discuss some of them in the upcoming videos, but ideally this is known to be overfitting, but there are techniques to address this. It can get also unstable when there is a small variation in the data. This can produce a completely different tree, and the rationale might be changing. So again, this is something similar to overfitting, but again this is more to deal with if you are feeding different types of data with only small variations, you'll see that the decision paths might be varying differently. Again, that's one sort of a drawback here, but there are techniques like ensembling, where we can build multiple trees and then we can combine them to make the decision. So that's an ensembling technique, but again, that also we will see in future. So that's one way to address this problem. And this can also create biased trees for dominant output classes. So what this means is, in your output, let us say we're talking about customer churn as an example. Customer stays or customer leaves, right? So if the data is not so balanced, then the tree could be so biased. The tree could be so biased to one particular class of the output. So that's a commonly known problem with decision trees, but again, those things could be addressed by balancing the data set, right? We have multiple techniques, but balancing the data set to have equal number of samples from both the classes would help in such cases. But there will be other techniques as well. We'll look at them. So this is primarily the basic overview about what decision trees are. At a very fundamental in a very fundamental level, right? And this is implemented by a library called scikit-learn. So scikit-learn is a very popular library in data science. So this has got a lot of implementations of all the algorithms like decision trees and linear regression, logistic regression, and a lot of other machine learning models are implemented by this library. Particularly in the case of decision trees, it has two flavors: decision tree classifier for this is used for classification problems, and decision tree regressor. This is used for regression problems.